Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. It will probably include harsh language and adult themes. So, and shut off the echo.
What, that's your intro? Jeez, it's pretty sharp.
So we've got C.H. Joan and Doc Fearson and Amiga Nuts in the side chat. So how's it going, guys? If anybody wants to jump in, I can send you a link on Twitter. So today is Ballpoint Pen Day, commemorating the anniversary that on June 10th, 1943, the first patent for a ballpoint pen was filed. Up until that point, people had to be dipping a quill or a stylus into pots of ink, which of course was very messy. And, oh, Dick Dawson's here. And Mindful. Like I say, if anybody wants to jump in, I can send you a link. But, also wanted to make sure to greet all of your British friends that today is also National Iced Tea Day. So if we want to start another war with Britain, this is a good occasion to do it.
Do they drink iced tea in Britain?
Oh, I have gone several rounds with Bad Temper Badger that it is akin to blasphemy. The idea
one,
that
two, three?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're just ignoring me. That's all right.
No, I wasn't ignoring you. I answered your question. So, anyway, I hope people are managing to stay safe with everything that's going on. Still pretty quiet around me.
Oh, I can't see him coming out to your part of the metro plan.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm about 75 miles out of Minneapolis, so
yeah.
But it is surprising just the number of towns now that have had protests, even in some pretty small towns.
I saw where the brave citizens of Hudson, Wisconsin, requested the Wisconsin governor to call out the National Guard to protect them from people coming over from Minnesota to riot in Hudson.
I missed that one.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Hudson is a city in Wisconsin that is immediately across the bridge and rivers and stuff that separate Wisconsin and Minnesota. And it's known to house a lot of fairly wealthy people, including, last I heard, Garrison Keillor. And it just, it's just, that whole thing just smacks of white privilege to me. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Duluth and Hudson are actually one city. It just has a river running down the middle of it. No, actually, that's Duluth and Superior, rather. Okay, yeah, Hudson's a little more over. Yeah.
No, Hudson is like follow I-94.
Okay.
Across the border.
Okay, right. Yeah, it's further south. Hey, Shadow Kitty, nerdy.
An interesting time we're living in, hey?
Yeah, and isn't that a Chinese curse? May you live in interesting times.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to think that we have a president who actually picks out a 75-year-old guy who's damaged by the police and accuses him of being a spy and a terrorist. It's like, dude, What the hell is wrong with your fucking damaged brain?
Well, and
You are
you
one
see,
sick motherfucker.
yeah, Stephen Colbert talked about that, and it turns out that pretty much this guy has spent his whole life doing charity work for I think it was a Catholic charities organization.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I read a thing today, a Palmer report. He does a lot of Twittering, and I followed him for a number of years, long before Trump was ever elected. And he has some interesting things. You know, it's kind of an annoying writing style, and he has some interesting stuff. And he put together a little missive um, about how Trump's going to go to prison after this term is up.
Yeah, I
And
think Trump's going to have to leave the country once he's out of office.
well, you know, that's actually one of the points that he made, that the person or I should say, the person he was quoting for this little mini essay said is that maybe one of the best things that could happen is for Trump to flee the country, been given asylum, and then we'll have leverage over that country for the rest of his life. I don't really sure how that works, but
yeah, well, that's been my big question: is what country would be willing to take him? Because
Putin would take him in a second.
Huh?
Putin would take him in a second.
No, I mean, if he loses his power, if he loses a substantial amount of his money, nobody's got any interest in being friends with him then.
Well, that's I think that's a valid point. That would be the most favorable thing for him to just lose.
The Russians only like him because he owes them a lot of money. If they don't think they're going to get their money back, they're not going to care.
And then also in this little column, the author of it was discussing how if Trump does go to prison, he will probably not survive past the year 2022, given statistically about how long the ratio of how many years it takes off your life expectancy versus how many years you're sentenced to prison. And considering his age and his terrible physical condition, that he will probably last a very, very short time in prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect
would that be just too bad? And it would just be so apropos for him to die in prison. Oh God, what a glorious vision that is.
Yeah, Shadow K is saying it could be roommates with Snowden.
Yeah. That would be pretty funny to see too. Although I think Snowden probably has more taste than to be anywhere near the Orange Menace.
And Amiga is shilling out our links again. So,
was it Jimmy Kimmel last night showed a Trump coloring book? There's actually a Trump coloring book.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That's what you want to give your kids.
Does it come with 2 extra orange crayons?
Oh, that's precious.
Nerdy says Trump can color.
You think? I wouldn't assign that skill to him.
Yeah, I wonder if he can actually write anything besides his signature. I mean, if it's not about him, would he have cared?
Mm-hmm. what I saw somebody did something great with that ugly signature of his that he always shows off. I can't remember. I have to drop it. I have just not enough recall of it.
Yeah.
But I laughed.
Yeah, and his latest executive order.
Which one is
basically supposedly in the interest of jump-starting the economy. He's encouraging all federal agencies to basically ignore all environmental impact and let corporations do whatever they want.
Interesting. Ignore that. I can't make it stop. Oh wait, yes I can. What the fuck? No, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't make that stop, but it'll
It's
be
no
over
big deal.
soon.
From coloring book, if you color outside the lines, you're doing it right. There we go. I keep forgetting I can do this.
I stayed inside the lines when I was a kid. I'm sorry. And I used the correct colors for stuff. I didn't make with people with like blue skin or purple dogs or anything like that. I stayed in with the right colors. Except I always wondered why everybody used brown for a tree when the bark is actually black.
Yeah, it depends what kind of tree. Birch trees are white.
All we had in the area where I grew up was elm trees, and they were black.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I guess it's all a matter of what your reference points are. As far as coloring people the wrong colors, I always claim that I used the right colors. You were just on the wrong planet.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of the dream sequences I had that I had taken as probably being a past life regression from living on another planet was being about 7 feet tall and having lavender skin and being involved in an interplanetary war.
Avatar.
And Mama Atheist came in.
How'd you do?
Oh, we back.
I like what family had to say. Putin needs a blowjob, so Trump is all in there. So I don't know if any of you follow the Twitter musings of J.K. Rowling, our little Harry Potter bitch.
I've seen it there. I haven't really been reading most of it.
Well, as it turns out, that which has been discovered previously today, it's not the news today. That J.K. Rowling is a transphobe.
Yeah.
And says all sorts of terrible things about trans people. Which I have read. She actually does say terrible things.
Yeah, I've seen some of the quotes that she's made in interviews, and yeah.
But they've been digging. People have been digging into other facets of her musings and have discovered that she's pretty much a all-around homophobe, and has spoken out against all kinds of things, like gay marriage and all kinds of stuff that the rest of us are realizing are just normal, human rights. And she's quite a nasty person. They can look back into some of her writings and they see how it really is appealing to racist intent on the reader's part, sexist, homophobe, transphobe, all these classically stereotypic things that conservative people hate, and it's sounding like she's one of them.
Well, even the Harry Potter thing was all about a brewing race war, and even reading that, there were parts of it that I found a little weird.
I've never read the Harry Potter stuff. I'm just not into that kind of genre. But I guess it's not surprising. It's just a shame that she became a billionaire off all that hate. For people figured it out.
Yeah, well, the way it was written in the Harry Potter, she appeared to be on the right side of it as far as the characters went there, but there were just parts of it that just felt kind of weird in just a vague way I can't really explain. And so I'm not too surprised to maybe find out that she had some leanings the other direction there.
Well, that's interesting because that's exactly how she seems to be treating the public despair or the public discovery of these attitudes, is that she's trying to play both sides in the same writing, the same chat or whatever she's putting down. In one sentence, she'll say, "Oh no, I think trans people are just wonderful," la 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 la, and then a sentence later, attack them with all the stereotypic things that the transphobes of UK are highlighting and pushing in their assault on trans rights and stuff. So it's pretty insidious, and she's really getting nailed right now in the Twitterverse and things.
Yeah, and that whole thing that she made the announcement in an interview, about Dumbledore being gay, and it's like that didn't really relate to the story in any real way. So it's like that was kind of pointlessly thrown out there, and it just seemed weird that she felt the need to remark on that when it really didn't go into the story or the character.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's particularly hurtful, this being Pride Month, for people with her sorts of influence and others. This isn't just about her. Coming out and coming after folks like me and my brothers and sisters. I put up with this crap in the 70s. I don't need to be dealing with it in my sunset years, especially from some rich bitch. I would like to just take that woman and just slap her silly. I don't deserve this. No one deserves this. I've paid my dues to society. I've worked and played the game and followed the rules. I just happen to be trans,
Yeah.
And I just don't need this anymore. I just don't.
Yeah, well, and aside from somebody dating you, what does it matter to anyone else?
Well, exactly. It has no bearing on anyone's life but mine. But I have to be attacked. We're 1/2 of 1% of the world population, and these horrible people think that we need to be persecuted, that we need to be excluded, that we need to be wiped off the face of the earth, literally.
Yeah. Well,
it's
the us and them thing that some people just need to have an enemy, so they'll create one if they can't find one.
Yeah, well, we're it. It's our turn. And I expect that I'll die before any of this is resolved.
Unfortunately, society does not improve by years or decades. It improves by generations.
Yeah.
So the best we can hope for is...
I would also like to take, since we're on the subject and it's Pride Month and stuff, I'd also like to take the opportunity here, as I will on every other broadcast I'm on this month, to genuinely thank all the people that I know here on Twitter, on YouTube, for the support I know that you guys offer me and in our community. probably do understand how much it means, but the expression "you don't know how much it means." You guys just don't know how much it means. um,
Well, you've got friends here when you hit rough spots. That's important.
yeah.
I know you don't have an easy life to begin with, so when things go wrong, it can be crippling.
And I also can't believe that in this particular semi-sacred month for LGBT community, that these right wingers, the incels, and the MGTOWs, and all their ilk have specifically set up efforts to get on websites of LGBT peoples and causes, and to cause trouble, to bait people, to attack people. That they've chosen this month to do that intentionally, because it is this month,
Well, yeah,
being
because
Pride
that's what's
Month.
going to get them attention this month.
Exactly, and it just shows how, I don't like to use the word subhuman, but how subhuman they behave. Um,
Yeah.
it's just not acceptable. So, chat, what do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, Joan's saying that comes back to the fear of that people will come after them instead. Yeah, Mr. Shadowkey, I think that's basically the definition of a MGTOW, is it's men that can't get laid but don't want to admit that they could have something to do with that.
Well, Mr. Shadow Kitty, I can't get laid either, so I'm not going to push that one.
Yeah, but you don't blame other people for it.
No, I don't. I certainly
That's the
don't.
difference. The MGTOWs say they can't get laid, and it's because of the women. It's like, no, it's probably because you're a scummy guy and women don't want to be close to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think pretty much all of the normal Pride activities wound up getting canceled because of worries about, the COVID and not wanting people congregating.
Yeah,
Which
I
I
was
think,
looking to.
I think it's good that they're not having people getting together in big groups, but yeah, understand that that's pretty, it's a major bummer.
I was looking forward to heading home to Milwaukee and taking part in the Pride weekend.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and it's definitely something, that I would have made the drive into Minneapolis for the Pride Festival.
mhm.
Although I am also, the Minneapolis one is the one I'm most familiar with, but even 10 years ago, I was getting disillusioned about how commercial it was becoming, that it's basically sponsored by Coca-Cola now, and it's like, it wouldn't bother me with certain companies, but it bothers me that there are major companies that are trying to sponsor these events. And if you look at the company's history, they've got really shit histories towards LGBT people. Coca-Cola being a good example of that. That they've
Real.
just had, yeah, they may have gotten better in recent years, but, I from the 80s through the 2000s, They wound up in court several times because of discrimination and firing people for being gay.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, like I said, I not really up-to-date information, so in the last 10, 15 years, they may have gotten better about it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I don't drink Coke anyway, so it's a pretty easy boycott for me.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many other companies they own.
Yeah, I know. But no one can boycott everything. I mean, if I was going to boycott every major corporation that sucks,
Yeah.
I would only be able to buy seeds and grow my own in the backyard. You know, they're
Yeah,
just too
although
all
it's another good
widespread
reason, to
conglomerations.
another good reason to patronize, local businesses and family-owned businesses when you can.
Yep, and I always do. Always, I'm happy to pay more buying from somebody local just because I know where the money's going.
Yeah, I didn't get to check most of them out around here because everything closed down 2 weeks after we moved here. So things are opening up again, but it kind of worries me. I think things are opening up too fast, and I think especially now it's like people can only look at one issue at a time. So since we're talking about the protests and the riots, people are like, the virus must be done with already. They don't seem to get that these things can be happening simultaneously.
If you've been looking at the mainstream news at all, you will find that there are new areas of what were they calling it?
New outbreaks.
Yeah, the ground zero, I guess they've been using the term for the outbreaks, and that a whole bunch of these southern states that states' rights, blah blah blah, hate government, and fuck you, we're not gonna wear masks and shit, are starting to have serious increases in their COVID populations.
Well, and you notice the same people who were protesting
are running out of beds.
Yeah. The same people who were protesting the lockdowns are also upset now about people protesting the police.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they objected to the lockdown, but they're okay with government-enforced curfews.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if black people have anything to do with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's all part of God's plan, right?
Indeed. And apparently, by the recent numbers, God wants to reduce the numbers of those Southerners and and red hat people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's all the other people they'll infect in the process.
Yeah. Well, I'm still holding up myself. I would like to live at least long enough to see the right wing collapse. After that, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know if I can actually say optimistic about it, but I think that there may be a better chance now of Trump getting himself out of office, because it had started out before all the mess with the primaries that the Republicans couldn't actually win the election, but the Democrats could lose it. And basically the Democrats seem determined to lose it. But now the way Trump's handling everything, it seems possible that Trump could lose the election for himself.
Well, he's very good at continuing to do stupid things,
Yeah.
and say incredibly stupid things, like the 75-year-old
Yeah, well, and that's the question that, in November, will his stupidity have stirred enough people up that they'll get off their ass to actually go and vote?
Well, I'm impressed with so many generals who are retired, because the ones who aren't retired can't speak out, are coming out against Trump and all of that.
Yeah, even George W. Bush has come out against Trump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah, I didn't think I'd find myself agreeing with him on much of anything.
Well, I still don't, but every vote helps.
Well, but, just because he is a nationally recognized name, it's more than one vote. He makes a statement like that, and it's got to get at least a few of the Republicans to think.
I tend to think that when people like Mitt Romney and George Bush come out against Trump, it's only because he's drawing the money to a different corral than they hang out at, and they want the money to come back to their rodeo. And I don't necessarily think that they're actually patriotic, pro-America, or pro the American people. They're pro more money in their pockets. I just can't see them as being interested in anything else. They don't have a history to support that. Especially Mr. Corporations are people, Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Well, Jones says their voices are appreciated outside of the U.S. too.
That's one of the most impressive things about this whole upset populace that we have right now, is how it has spread to so many other countries, and them in those countries not just being supportive of the movement in the United States, but establishing their own and looking at their own um, guilty history of slavery and racial injustice,
Yeah.
and making demands and wanting change. This has become a watershed time for the planet.
Oh, yeah. The idea that it has become a worldwide movement. It's not even just the U.S.
Mhm.
You
And I
know, and
think
that's
go ahead.
well, I just gonna say that the incidents like this, unfortunately, of police brutality against blacks has been really an annoyingly common thing. It happens all the time. It just usually doesn't make the national press. And I think that's what they're seeing now is with the protests, that they're now like over 450 cities across the US having protests, is because, yeah, it happened in Minneapolis, but pretty much when it happened, everyone realizes that at some point it happened in their town as well.
Hmm. We even had a protest here, in not in my town. We're still just a town of 900 people, but La Crosse, the nearest major city, um, well, major to the state, not the national picture. It's a town of 50, 60,000. That they've actually had their own demonstrations and gatherings. Very peaceful, very orderly. Um, a lot of white skin kneeling, that kind of thing. Because there's not a huge black population up here, or other minorities for that matter. Um, there's
Yeah, I'm not sure what the
more.
mix is around here. I haven't, again, I haven't been around here long enough, and with everything closed up, of course, people weren't out very much. So,
Yeah, well, I suppose it depends on whether or not you include Minneapolis in your area as you speak to it.
no, I think that Minneapolis, St. Paul's kind of a separate area. There's enough space that they don't really bleed into each other, and it's over an hour drive, so it's not people aren't going back and forth between them that much.
Yeah, there's a substantial minority population in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the neighborhood of Minneapolis where it started with, where that first Target was looted, was 2 blocks from one of my old apartments. So that's I know that whole strip along Lake Street where the protests have been going on. I lived in that area for about 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, you certainly know it better than I do.
Yeah. Well, and especially the whole uptown neighborhood there. That was a real example of the gentrification. That it was a real rundown, poor neighborhood, and in the 80s, basically, it was the students and the artistic people, who decided to, that was the only place they could afford the rent. So they decided to do something about improving the neighborhood. And then once they had put all the work in and made the neighborhood look respectable again, then the yuppies went and bought everything out.
Yeah, and that's very much the typical pattern for gentrification.
Yeah.
In America, it's what happened in my neighborhood where I owned a house and stuff like that. I bought long before the gentrification happened, and I mean, I saw it happen around me. I knew it was coming. But as soon as the artists move in, you can be fairly rest assured that in the next 10 to 15 years, that neighborhood is going to be 180 degrees different.
Yeah.
Because of yuppies. So get in there and buy up if you want profit.
Yeah, it just really sucks that the people who put all the work into actually getting the neighborhood, rebuilt, then wind up that they can't afford to live there anymore.
Mm-hmm. But then the other thought is that the gentrification occurs and the Bohemian community is pounded out. Well, then they go find the next neighborhood that needs that, and it improves and gets better. Because the areas around a gentrified region benefit as well. I mean, that's true. But yes, what you're saying about people losing the ability to rent there or something like that definitely occurs.
Well, that's once the yuppies start buying stuff up, the rents go up, and the people who have lived there the whole time can't afford to stay in the places they've been.
Yeah, we just need to find a way to transfer that improved wealth to the people who are traditionally from that area.
Okay.
Not just the yuppies who do the house flipping.
Yep. Mr. Shadow Kitty said that even Pat Robinson came out being critical of Trump's law and order response to the protests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's, if you're having protests against police violence, sending police in there with military equipment, you don't see why that's not going to work. Oh, hey, Spooky.
Hey, Spooks.
Yeah, after this is over, I'm going to have to go and drive Sloth Girl's son home again. He came and stayed with her for a few days.
Oh, how far away does he live?
He's in the northern, just north of Minneapolis. So, yeah, it's about an hour and a half each way.
Oh, that won't be too bad.
No, well, that was one of the things for Sloth Girl moving back here, was that she was going to have a chance to see her kids again. Up in Michigan, she never got to see them. So, yeah, it's definitely very good for her. Especially as, her birthday was just last week. So
I just got to drive from La Crosse to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I've never been on that particular route. I've been to Eau Claire before, but I always came in on I-94 from Milwaukee or from Minneapolis. It was interesting getting there on the 2-lane state highways. A lot of really interesting little small towns.
Yeah, the scenic route there.
Yeah, and a couple small towns that aren't exactly small towns. Arcadia, have you ever heard of it? No? You ever hear of
I've heard of it. I don't really know much about it.
Ever see ads on TV or whatever, or are you familiar with Ashley Furniture?
Yeah.
Well, they're like the biggest mass furniture manufacturer in the country. Well, they're in Arcadia, Wisconsin, for Christ's sake.
Okay.
A little town of less than 20,000. And they're desperately hiring people. They're advertising. They're like 60 some miles away from here, and they're actually advertising in the La Crosse area for employees and saying, "We will transport you to work." Okay, we'll drive you there and back every day.
That's cool.
Just come work for us. So that is interesting for such a little place. Good for them. I guess I don't know how good their furniture is, but
They've got a good reputation.
And then of course we have Cray Computer, which I don't know is pretty much a nobody nowadays, aren't they?
Yeah, I haven't heard much from them in years.
Yeah, but they certainly were big time.
Yeah, again, back in the
while back.
80s, they were like one of the leading supercomputers.
Yeah, and they're in little Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Which is just this tiny little town that Leinenkugels comes from.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I didn't share this last week because I didn't want to ruin the surprise before Sloth Girl's birthday. But this was the big present I got for her was I commissioned Gaelic Knox to do this for her.
Oh.
So I gave her a framed print of that.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
I've recently learned that apparently sloths are very popular amongst lots of newly coming out trans women.
Oh, I didn't know there was a connection that.
I can't explain it. I've just heard about it.
Okay.
Doesn't include me.
I have noticed that they seem a lot more popular lately, but I didn't know there was any kind of connection there to trans people.
Ever since people found out that they almost die every time they poop, it's everybody, just their feelings gravitate that way. Oh God.
Yeah, I think Dora's got it. That's probably why Cray stopped being a thing. Just things went to being just networks of small computers instead of big computers.
Well, that does make sense, Dora. I mean, especially with distributed computing and the cumulative MIPS and stuff that they can achieve through networking versus a single unit. Oh yeah, I'm smart enough to know about MIPS. Not smart enough to build something with it, but
yeah.
Angie's here.
Oh, hi, Angie.
Angie, honey. She should come in here.
She should, although this time she usually has her hands full with the kids.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, when they go back to school, it'll be different, but that was one smart thing that Minnesota did, was just deciding to cancel the rest of the school year and Just figure we'll pick it up in September.
Yeah, I guess that's in question now too.
I hadn't heard anything about it, although I don't really watch news on a regular basis. I do wind up getting most of my news through the internet stuff. Oh, Andy still doesn't have internet connected.
Oh.
Damn, what's taking them so long?
They have a lot of customers right now.
Yeah. Again, I got lucky that we managed to get everything set up just before all that crap started. So, just trying to keep in contact with everybody because, just you hear about crap that's going on all over the country and just wondering if everybody's staying safe. Even the people that I don't, talk to more than once every couple of months. So that, excuse me, where was that? Steve Bauman had just posted something on Twitter. Oh, I lost it already. Yeah. Oh, well. I often wonder how people can actually keep up with all the internet stuff.
I don't try to keep up. I look at what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm interested in too many things. Hey, Orla. Yeah, the country's definitely at a crossroads and they don't know which direction we're going. I am glad to see more in the media that they're, exposing the people who are going into the protest just to stir things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do appreciate how it seems some police departments and some city governments are responding very rapidly to this. But I'm a cynic, so I'm asking: are they doing it now because of the pressure, because of the publicity? That it's the current thing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with it, being the public outcry, and it probably would not get as much attention if it wasn't an election year. That it's not just Trump, but, it's a lot of state and local officials that are going to be up for re-election. So if they don't look like they're doing something about the problem, they're worried about maintaining their seat.
I'm enjoying how powerless Trump is in all of this. He thinks that he can just, wave his hand and pontificate and make things the way he thinks they should be. And every time people come to, well, no, sir, we have this thing called the Constitution. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's really showing that he has no clue what the powers of the president actually are.
Yep. Or, well, maybe he does, but he's trying to exercise them to be what he wants them to be versus what they are. which I tend to think is fairly likely. He's a greedy motherfucker. You saw those pictures of him with the Bible.
Yeah.
You see the comparison picture somebody had of Hitler.
Yeah. Somebody had photoshopped the Bible in Hitler's hand.
Precisely same pose. It's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This guy does not understand optics. He seems to think he does, but he sure breaks the rules every time.
Yeah, well, they had said that in the responses they were considering him making a speech to address the nation with a message of unity. And it's like they were considering this as a potential response, but in the case of Trump, they weren't really sure if they wanted to do it because they figured he'd probably fuck it up. Any other president, that would have been the thing on day one.
Oh, sure. There's nothing for him to unify. There's nobody.
Well, he can't unify because it is the white nationalists are his base.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't come down saying that he supports black rights. That's the one thing that could actually upset the 30% that will never, turn away from him.
Yeah, the other optic that really bothered me today was what state was it in? I think it was Georgia, unfortunately. The police standing up in their usual way of guarding the KKK. Who stood up there
I saw some pictures of that on Twitter.
About how we're not going away, we're here forever, and blah, blah, blah. And the police are just kind of very calmly standing there.
Yep.
Well, why aren't you buzzing yourself through that crowd?
Yeah, even though this is a group that has been declared as a terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, we know the answer to it.
Yeah, and Trump trying to declare Antifa a terrorist organization. Well, to start with, it's not even an organization.
Yeah, it's a concept, honey.
And again, he doesn't get the optics that he's declaring people who oppose fascism to be terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that say he's supporting?
Well, himself and his nationalist fascist buddies.
Yep.
Which I think they should just do. I think Trump should just come out and say, I'm a nationalist, I'm a fascist, and this is where I want the country to go. Because we all know it's true.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you at least just come out and say it?
In the first couple of days of the riots, he was like jumping for joy with the idea that he could declare martial law.
He's just a pathetic little boy. Complete waste of carbon and water.
Yeah. Oof. Excuse me. Yeah. Unfortunately, did not sleep last night either.
No, me either. I tried to get up early enough to go hook up with what's his name? For his questions.
Dave's critical questions.
Yeah, Critical Cripple. I think it's one of the best shows on the internet right now.
Yeah. Yeah. His timing's not good for me either, but I always run into my playlist later in the night.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who haven't seen it, Critical Cripple at, let's see, it would be 8 a.m. Central Time, American Central Time.
No, actually, it's 7 Central Time. It usually comes on, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. 7 o'clock Central Time. Has this lovely little show where he has 5 different people and himself on, and he has written this list of questions. And each day it's a daily show. Each day he does another set of questions, and we're up to the question number. Well, last time I was on it, up to question number 690. And some of the questions are actually, like real funny, just plain body insane, silly questions. But some are actually very meaningful and can be explored very deeply by the panel. It's really fascinating. It's just very enjoyable. It's a good blend of smart and silly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. There's, like you say, some of them are important questions and some of them are just ridiculous things. And you never know what the next question's going to be. It jumps around so much.
Yeah, and there's always a lot of English people on it, so it sounds smart, even if it's not.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I know, Bad Tempered Badger, Mama Atheist are regulars in there, and Math Pig is often in there, and Saffron Hyde. So, yeah, when I happen to be up, I've gotten in there a couple of times. It's something I would like to do more often, but just the time he does it.
You know what I'd like about living in a small rural town? Here on TV, I just had a commercial for silos. It's just not something you get in New York or Chicago, is it?
No.
Yeah, I got to have my silo checked out. Maybe it's time for a new one. And tractors, of course. There's tractor commercials and horse pen commercials and things like that.
Well, here in rural Minnesota, there is a silo that I converted for a friend, because he had moved onto this property and it had one of these concrete grain silos. But, of course, they weren't doing any farming or keeping animals. So we just decided to use the tower and put a dome on it to make it into an observation. So we built a rotating dome on it for his telescope.
Oh, cool. So you use the rest of the body of the silo, so the dome is way up there?
Yeah, the whole concrete cylinder, so that, the dome is like 35 feet above the ground.
Well, how do you get up there?
We just built a spiral staircase inside it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that'll do it.
Yes, that was one of the most unique projects I've done.
Oh, pardon me. Oh. I'm so tired.
Yeah, we just did a plywood geodesic dome and used about 100 golf balls as ball bearings for it to rotate on.
Golf balls?
Yeah.
Well, they're consistent.
They were cheap and easy to get.
Yeah.
And they're solid enough to hold the weight of it. Yeah, to make sure it was something that wasn't going to crush down over the weight, especially considering the, potential snow weight. Because, in Minnesota, the snow is something you always have to calculate for.
Well, I know golf balls are pretty weather tolerant. I've seen them unearthed from golf course water traps, by the people who go around and do that. And some of them appear to be awfully old, but still in one piece. I mean, I don't know that you'd want to use it for actual golf, but
yeah, they're not just weather resistant. On golf courses in Florida, from time to time, they find ones that have passed through an alligator's digestive system and still came out pretty much looking the same.
Alligator tested and approved. Oh, that's cute. But what about crocodiles?
Yep. Yeah, that's part of why I think playing golf in Florida is kind of insane, because that's a serious water hazard.
Mm-hmm.
You got something that can jump out of there and chase you.
Is somebody coming in?
Not that I know of.
My screen just changed.
Oh. Nope, not seeing anything on this end. Oh. Okay, well, seems kind of a slow day, and I do have things I need to get to, so maybe we'll just cut this short today.
Well, as you wish. That Dick Dawson never came in.
Yeah.
That lion snake. When did he turn into a Republican? I'd say that to his face too, so I'm not being too nasty.
What's Dora saying here?
They should make a golf ball variant of Kopi Luwak. Free roaming alligators, of course. What's Kopi Luwak?
Yeah, that's the part I didn't get there. So, Dora, you're going to have to explain that one for us.
She writes, "What a dick." So I don't think she's talking about Kopi.
Well, I think that was a reference to Dick Dawson. And that's the funny thing. If you're
the coffee beans eaten by civet cats.
Oh, okay.
I get it.
Right. Okay, now I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't drink coffee either, so. But yeah, I have heard about it.
I won't drink that coffee. Nope. Just ain't gonna happen.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. So thanks, everybody, for coming.
Bye-bye, everyone.
So I will be back tomorrow night at midnight. And then, again, Friday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be co-hosting on Black Sofa's channel. So we will see you all then. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.